The Twin Otter is losing altitude fast.
Oh my God.
It falls into a steep dive. Less than 2 minutes after takeoff, Flight 1121 crashes into the Pacific.
Help me back. Help me back. Okay.
The crew of Alaska Airlines Flight 261 struggles to regain control of their MD-83.
They pulled back on the control yoke, holding a lot of force.
Center, Alaska 261. We are
in a dive here. I've lost control of vertical pitch.
Alaska 261, say again, sir?
We are in a vertical dive at 26,000.
They are now 3 minutes from impact.
Speed brakes.
The pilots deploy the speed brakes, control surfaces on the wings of the plane that increase drag.
And he wanted to slow the plane down, and it would also give them more of a chance physically to pull the plane out of the dive.
The speed brakes arrest the dive. Using all their strength, the pilots bring the aircraft back under control at 24,000 feet.
Hey, once we get the speed slowed, maybe we'll be okay.
In 80 seconds, the plane has dropped 8,000 feet.
The pilots pulled out of the dive with pure brute force.
We got it back.
Under control here. No, we don't.
Even though they've managed to pull out of the dive, it requires extreme effort to keep the nose of the plane level.
Okay, it really wants to pitch down.
They're really having to work physically at holding the nose up on this jet. They're in a fight for control of the airplane.
It's a lot worse than it was. Yeah, we are in much worse shape now.
This is a very experienced crew. These aviators have had problems in flights before, but nothing like this.
Maintenance 261.
Are you on?
22 miles from Los Angeles, Captain Thompson updates Alaska Airlines maintenance, hoping for advice on how to land safely.
Yeah, 261, this is maintenance.
Yeah, we've tried both the pickle switch and the suitcase handles, and it ran away full nose
Trim down.
Oh, I ran away full trim.
And now we're worse than we were.
He's explaining that when he commanded nose up trim, the trim system moved nose down, moved in opposite direction of the way he commanded it. And it did so very quickly, and it did so with a lot of force.
And you're getting full nose trim down and no nose trim up, correct?
That's affirmative.
We went full nose down, and now I'm afraid to try it again to see if we can get it to go back in the other direction.
He is reluctant to try to move it again for the concern that if it gets worse yet, that they could lose control of the airplane entirely.
If you want to try it, that's okay with me. If not, that's fine.
See you at the gate.
After the maintenance base at LAX said, "Oh, we'll see you at the gate," the pilots knew they were on their own. All they had left was they had themselves, their physical strength, and their wits.
Seatbelt, please. Thank you.
Cathay Pacific Flight 780 is cruising at 38,000 feet over the South China Sea. Captain Malcolm Waters and his crew are nearing the end of a 4.5-hour flight from Indonesia to Hong Kong. 165 miles from Hong Kong Airport, the Airbus leaves cruising altitude and begins its descent. And then something goes wrong. The flight computer is alerting the pilots to a problem.
Okay, let's see what we got.
Engine 2 stalled.
The plane's monitoring system indicates there's an issue with the right engine, engine number 2. With no explanation for the incident, Captain Waters reduces power on the engine to idle to protect it from damage.
Idle.
The lowest possible power level while still keeping it running. The pilots prepare to land the Airbus with only one engine. Everything is set for an emergency landing. But then, another alert and more vibrations.
Engine 1 stall.
Engine 1 stall confirmed.
Things have gone from bad to worse. The monitoring system indicates they've just lost the other engine, the one they were counting on to get the plane to Hong Kong. The monitoring system tells the pilots to put the malfunctioning engine number 1 into idle. They are a minute from touchdown. Then, another alert.
It's overspeed.
It's an overspeed warning, a signal the aircraft is flying too fast. Captain Waters can't figure it out. They should be slowing down. He rechecks the controls. Then he sees it. Engine number 1, which he throttled back minutes earlier, is still running at 74% power. High thrust, too high to land safely.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain.
Their speed is over 100 miles per hour faster than normal. So fast, the flight computer doesn't recognize that the pilots are trying to land. Captain Waters pushes the nose down, forcing the Airbus onto the runway. The Airbus is getting close to the end of the runway. Finally, the aircraft comes to a halt just a short distance from the water's edge. They've used up more than 8,800 feet, over 1.5 miles of runway.
Once the aircraft did stop, there's a look of what the hell just happened.
Auckland Center, Dynasty 006. We're declaring an emergency. We request a direct route to San Francisco.
Well, they cleared all the other airplanes out of the way. They gave him clear runway, so nobody was waiting. Didn't have to wait for anybody else. He went straight in for a landing.
Dynasty 006, Oakland Center, you are now cleared. You are free to descend at pilot's discretion.
Captain Ho not only has injuries on board, the plane itself has been severely damaged. His rear elevators, which help control the altitude of the plane, don't seem to be working. Without them, landing his jet safely will be extremely difficult.
The problem is, it's a very big airplane and it responds very, very slowly, and you just might not do it before you run out of air. You might hit the ocean. What you need is a very cool head.
Captain Ho must now land using varying amounts of engine thrust. It's a controlled fall towards the runway.
As we came in, we flew over the house in Atherton where I had lived, where my kids had been born. And I looked down and said, boy, this is fitting. If we don't make it down, or if this plane explodes on landing because it's been so badly torqued and ruptured, you know, at least I got to see that. He made one of the best landings I've ever seen. I mean, it was just perfect touchdown.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Ho speaking. Wishing you a safe journey. I hope you enjoyed our uneventful flight. Thank you for flying China Airlines. We hope you fly with us again.
Guido Fernandez had just been appointed Peru's accident investigator. Aero Peru was his first case. The co-pilot, David Fernandez, was his nephew.
I was in bed. It was about 4:30 in the morning, and they called me. Your nephew is lost in an airplane. They asked me, how do you feel that your nephew was a co-pilot? My gosh, I feel very bad. But I'm a professional. I have to do a job. I have to comply and complete my duty. So that's what I did.
Fernandez put thoughts of his nephew out of his mind. His job was to retrieve the aircraft's flight data and voice recorders to determine what happened. He needed help. Fernandez contacted the National Transportation Safety Board in Washington, D.C., the world's leading agency for air accident investigations.
They had found the aircraft. It was pretty well documented by radar. The Navy, the Peruvian Navy, had gotten a fix on the flotsam and the wreckage in the ocean. And the only thing left to do was find it on the bottom of the ocean, which they did not have the facilities for.
The black box in the Boeing 757 can emit a locator beacon for 30 days before batteries run dead. The U.S. Navy provided underwater remote-operated vehicles to survey the debris field, seeking the black boxes. The wreckage confirmed that the plane went down in one piece. The data recorders were retrieved from the 757 and brought to the surface. The boxes were placed in coolers full of fresh water to keep them from oxidizing.
It was clear to us that they were really experiencing a problem with airspeed and altitude. And the airspeed and altitude indications in the aircraft are strictly a function of what we call the pedostatic system.
The pedostatic system is found on all aircraft, large or small. External ports measure outside air pressure to provide data on altitude and speed. If these ports are blocked, the plane's computers receive false data and generate false warnings. But why these ports would be blocked was a mystery. Robotic vehicles searched for the missing piece of the puzzle. What they found stunned investigators. Captain Schreiber's static port was completely blocked with tape. Investigators now learned what happened. Just before Aero Peru 603 lifted off from Lima, maintenance workers cleaned the aircraft. A worker covered the static ports with tape to protect them. This is standard procedure. But he forgot to remove the tape. It was a small oversight with catastrophic results. Michelle Santoren joined Air Maria just 3 months ago.
I'll take the passenger listed load sheet if it's ready. Ah, another full one. Just the way we like it.
Santoren flies these short hops on his own, with no co-pilot or cabin crew to help out.
Okay, time to fly. No time to waste in paradise. Tower, we're ready to taxi.
Air Maria, you are cleared for takeoff.
Runway 12.
Cleared for takeoff for Tahiti?
Runway 12.
The Twin Otter has little automation. Santoren flies this plane by hand.
The majority of modern commercial planes are loaded with help for the pilots. Electronics, screens. But on this type of plane, you have the pleasure of handling the plane and fully controlling it.
At this island airport, the ocean is just off the edge of the 1,300-yard runway.
When we fly over there, it's magical. Blue lagoons, magnificent islands, the greenery, the mix of colors. It's certainly paradise.
Vacationers get to watch the regular takeoffs and landings. The flight is one of the shortest on Earth, just 7 minutes from takeoff to touchdown.
Damn
it. But on Flight 1121, something is wrong. The Twin Otter is losing altitude fast.
Oh my God.
It falls into a steep dive. Less than 2 minutes after takeoff, Flight 1121 crashes into the Pacific.
Oh my God.
The tower is told what people have seen.
Is it floating or has it gone under?
Local fishermen rush to help, but they find no survivors, only bodies. All 20 people on the flight are dead.
On a fait ce qu'on a pu, mais en fait, il n'y avait pas de survivants, quoi. Il n'y avait personne. Personne de vivant.
I will always remember. It was terrible because we were still hoping that despite what happened, people would come out alive, or at least a couple.
The disaster touches nearly everyone in the tiny island community.